Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, everyone? Alan Jouban here as well.
All right, folks, so it is a Tuesday. Yesterday was Memorial Day. We have some fights coming up this weekend. So mostly today, we'll probably talk about Tyron Woodley, the former champ, facing Gilbert Burns, who is on a tear. Also really want to talk about Mackenzie Dern coming back to action against H.E.A.T Cifers. But Alan, before we get to that, how was your Memorial Day weekend?
I trained. That's all I did. I didn't do much. We kind of did stuff the day before, got some sun over the weekend, and then yesterday was devoted to training. That was it. So I got a good session, and I'm happy with it. Had a good Memorial Day. I didn't want to go face the masses, the craziness out there. Some of the Malibu from what I saw the day before was getting a little crazy, or getting packed. So I did it a day early and then got my session in. How about you guys?
Yeah, we stayed here. We didn't go anywhere. We were here, cooked some things, like we smoked some meat yesterday and this and that. We were mostly here doing things. I did do a few interviews, so I kept working. So I have an interview with Gilbert Burns and also Corey Sandhagen. He's fighting at UFC 250, so you can look at that one next week. But also I did speak with Mackenzie Dern, and we will be putting that interview out this afternoon after the podcast and stuff too. So I did stay a little bit busy trying to, get my hustle and stuff, but I did get my workouts in. So because my cross ropes showed up the other day. So I finally got my cross ropes, and I have been jumping rope, that's been my savior during this whole downtime. Totally loving it. And I got to say the better ropes make a difference, Alan. This, You're a professional athlete. I'm not a professional athlete, but it makes a difference. And then they have the weighted ropes and stuff. So I'm loving it. I'm literally though still sweating because I did a workout. I finished almost more than an hour ago. Still sweating, still going. Maybe it is because I do it outside and it is 90 degrees. I'm a little bit of a psycho with that, but I'm loving that workout. So I'm feeling fired up, to sit around at home.
It's good you got a good rope. I'm going to do my jump rope activity today too before I do some Muay Thai. But I got kind of the normal cheap rope, but it makes a difference. I know exactly what you mean because when you get real accurate with it, real good, you can speed up and
exactly.
You have to do less arm work with the good ropes.
Exactly. And then when the crossovers and stuff, it's fluid, the ropes are all tangled and stuff like that. So I'm loving it. And also, how did your live stream go? Because we shared that, folks. I know you were working out with Taylor over the weekend, right? So you did a live workout. Are you going to be doing more of that?
Yeah, well, Taylor does them all the time. My strength and conditioning coach. You can check him out if you want to do one,
right.
9 a.m. I jump in with him once or twice a week. But what I learned is the live stream went well. What I learned was when I'm not on camera, I could cheat. I could take a break. I could pass it. When I'm the guy that's on the screen sharing Instagram Live with them, you've got to do everything perfect. The viewers are watching and you're on the screen. So, man, I was exhausted. I was so tired from it. But it went really well because I told him he had 2 or 3 people go on before me other days. And they were girls, they were athletes, but they were girls who were attractive and they had big followings.
Right.
And they were attractive. And so they brought in a lot of viewers. I couldn't compete with that, Karyn. So I told him, I said, dude, I just want you to kill me. I just want you to go hard. I want all of the viewers that tune in to be exhausted after. And that's what we got. We were really beat after. I was sore just from a 30-minute workout. I was super sore from it. So it went well. It was success.
That's good. It's funny that you say that, though, because, sometimes I'll do workouts with our daughter and, you're doing the YouTube ones or something. And we always joke that, you want to be the one who gets to do the breaks, right? And the one that gets to, the modified version, the one that, gets to be on their knees or do this or that. Because then that way, you can, really do the whole workout and feel like you're, keeping up or whatever. Because you're right. If you're on camera and you have to do every squat perfectly, everything perfectly.
That's the little subtleties. I think about that. I relate it to training camp. When you're the guy with the fight coming up, you're doing everything perfect in sparring. And so you're always the most fatigued. And the guy going against you, he can kind of be loosey-goosey, doesn't have to be perfect, and he has a better gas tank. And it always kind of messes with your mind as a fighter because you're like, I'm the guy in fight camp right now. I should be in tremendous shape. Why am I getting tired? But it's because you're trying to put everything together. You're trying to do everything perfect because your coach is watching you spar. And so that's part of it. When you put everything together perfect, you're working a lot harder than someone doing it half-assed. And it happened for Instagram. It happens in sparring.
Nice. Well, I haven't quite made it back out on the tennis court yet. I am going to get to that. But, of course, this weekend there are fights. UFC on ESPN, we have Tyron Woodley facing Gilbert Burns in the main event. Obviously this is not a fight that we expected to have. Tyron was supposed to be on the card. I was supposed to be working that card in March. He was supposed to be facing Leon Edwards. Obviously Tyron on the comeback trail. We haven't seen him fight since last March when he lost his title to Kamaru Usman. So he was supposed to fight Leon Edwards, which was much more made quote unquote more sense because of the rankings. That of course falls apart because of travel restrictions. There's an idea that maybe Colby could be in there. That doesn't happen. Different things, names come around, but Gilbert Durinho Burns has been on a tear. He's asking for this, and he got it, Alan. So what do you make of it?
I make a lot of it. Okay, so let's kind of break it down. Gilbert, like he said, Gilbert asked for this fight. Gilbert not only asked for it, but he was trolling hard. He was trolling T. Wood.
He was.
Friends or not friends with Tyron Woodley, or if you're a fan or not, you had to appreciate the effort that he put into it. I mean, right. Gilbert was really putting in some effort into trolling him and getting this fight. So he got this fight. He asked for it. He did the social media trolling. He got the fight. Tyron Woodley at first didn't really want this fight because he was like, "No, man, like you're some guy that just jumped in the division, trying to make a name off of me." But honestly, this is a better matchup for Tyron Woodley than the Leon Edwards fight. I think Tyron, you didn't see him too eager for the Leon Edwards fight.
And when you say better, you mean more winnable?
I think it's a more winnable, and I don't mean that in any way as a diss to Durinho.
Right.
But Leon Edwards is a tough guy. He's a very tough, tricky guy. And I knew that Tyron Edwards was thinking, man, it's going to be tough with the range and the style that Leon Edwards fights.
Yeah.
Durinho, he's a much more winnable fight when you think about his style. He's a heavy-handed puncher, but so is Tyron Woodley. I mean, Tyron Woodley's got more power. He's a grappler who became a striker, or who likes to strike as well now. But Tyron's a more polished striker. And lastly, Gilbert Burns, he's a great grappler. He's a tremendous jiu-jitsu guy who has good grappling. But it's going to be tough to also get T. Wood down, to get Tyron Woodley down. And lastly, with that as well, you look at the body types. Tyron Woodley's always been the bigger guy. Durinho's kind of got that same type of build, but Tyron Woodley's the more natural welterweight. So I think he'll be the bigger guy. So going to be a fun fight. But I think that when Tyron Woodley started breaking this fight down, he thought, you know what? This is kind of a more favorable matchup to me with the advantage, the edge that I have in some of these categories. And I think that's kind of what pushed him to take the fight.
Yeah, I think it is more. It's a more winnable fight as well. Same thing. No disrespect to Durinho. It is more winnable for Tyron, I think, as well, because Leon would have had a lot of. Even though Tyron actually has long arms, I think Leon would have had that reach advantage there, that height advantage. It was also going to be home field advantage for Leon in London. Tyron was going to have a lot of pressure on him in that way, but. It's funny because I talked to Tyron. We were texting the other day and wanted to do an interview with him and stuff. And he's like, look, I'm really trying to, stay focused and not do a lot of stuff. I'm actually really trying to cancel the things that I have to do. We're good friends. We've known each other a long time. I don't take offense if he doesn't want to talk to her. And I'm like, dude, you do you need to do your thing. But in this switch from Leon Edwards to Durinho, the pressure really is on Tyron now. Like he can't lose. He can't lose this fight. Because he, on the one hand, was saying that Durinho shouldn't have asked for it and stuff like that, and that, he's not ready for all of these things. And so Tyron really has to make that statement and prove that he's correct in saying that. So I almost feel like there's almost even more pressure on Tyron now. Yeah,
what's real interesting is they were releasing recently that all the fights in this Apex Center are going to be in the modified cage, the 25-foot cage, where normally there's a 30-foot cage for the big shows. The 25-foot cage is sometimes in the smaller venues, but a lot of times it's more like for the Contender Series and some of these smaller shows like that. The 25-foot cage makes a big difference. I remember fighting in the RFA, and at the time, the RFA was the only other organization that was allowed to have an octagon. So they had the 25-foot octagon. And, when you're fighting those smaller cages, as soon as you touch gloves and you walk forward, boom, you're in that invisible pressure right now. You're already in fighting range. And so there's not a lot of ground behind you that you can kind of dance around and stuff. There's not a lot of play happening in the 25-foot cages. So this fight is taking place in a 25-foot cage. It'll be interesting because both guys are going to be throwing heavy shots and both guys are going to be clinching a lot. So I'm kind of really interested the battle in the clinch. When they get on the clinch, I'm assuming it's going to be on the cage because it's a smaller cage. So right away, they're going to have to back up against the cage. Who's going to win that clinch battle against the cage? Is Doriño going to be able to take down T. Wood, or is Woodley going to be able to use the cage as that third leg as a defense to kind of keep himself posted up, push off, keep the fight in the middle of the octagon, where I think Tyron Woodley is going to try to outstrike him. I don't think Tyron Woodley is going to try to take down Gilbert Burns. I think it'll be more of him trying to stay in the middle and move around. So, but I think the factor of the smaller cage will affect the fight.
Well, let's see. And we definitely are going to get to some questions. And I love the fact that we got some of our regulars in here. Joe Boza, Lil Snoop. Hi, Dan Jensen. Thanks for joining us. Bad Luck Bro is in here as well and stuff. So thanks for joining us, folks. And we do have some, if you have questions, we can get to some. But, it's interesting where you say where you think this fight will take place, because obviously if it does go to the canvas, then it becomes wrestling versus jiu-jitsu, right? Yeah. Gilbert Burns, the first time I met him, he was, I want to just say only, he was Vitor Belfort's jiu-jitsu coach, right? So that's when I first met Doriño. We were at Extreme Couture, and I was there doing a whole story, with Vitor, and we were filming all the stuff with Vitor. And Doriño was so great, and but he wasn't even in the UFC yet, obviously. And so to see where he's come has been incredible. And obviously, we know that jiu-jitsu is his bread and butter. In his last two fights, he defeated Gunnar Nelson and Damian Maia. Those two guys are also both great at jiu-jitsu. So he actually was able to knock out Damian. That was in Brasilia. We were just that was the last fight that we did. So Doriño is on a real tear, and he has obviously jiu-jitsu skills, and he obviously has knockouts as well. But when I did, when you listen to things that Tyron is saying, he's like, look, I've been there before. I'm a guy that was a grappler who then found out that I had hands, and then I kind of fell in love with my hands for a little while, and then I got away from my grappling, and all these things about putting it back together. So he's kind of saying that, look, Doriño might fall in love with his hands. He might come out strong for a first few rounds. He's not going to have success. He's going to panic. He's going to get tired, and he's going to go back to his old things, which is trying to shoot and take me down and go for, jiu-jitsu. And Tyron's just like, look, I'm going to smash this guy. He's going to get way too tired. I'm going to take him deep. He's not going to know what happened. On paper, Tyron makes a very good argument there. He really does. And there is that idea. We've seen that before of guys with one skill set. I mean, hell, even Damian Maia did it for a little while, right? Where he got good with his hands and got away from his jiu-jitsu. So I think that storyline is really there. And I am curious to see what Doriño really focuses on in this fight.
Yeah, and I think the biggest storyline for Tyron and dictating the outcome of this fight is which Tyron comes out. If the guy from the old comes out and he's aggressive, he's been putting out kind of a storyline lately saying that I'm hungry, I'm a killer, I'm coming out here, this is the mean, I got that mean back inside of me. Right. If that Tyron truly does come out, then we're going to see a tough guy, a guy that you're going to say, okay, if he gets through Doriño and does it with that power and aggression that he used to have, then maybe he's ready for another title shot. But if he comes out and he's overthinking it again and he's trying to play the safe fight, he did say, I want to take this fight into deep waters, which could be thought of as a negative thing. Deep waters doesn't necessarily mean I'm trying to slow the pace down. It can just mean I'm going to chip away at you and get you tired and then take you out. So if he does that game plan, I think he could have success. But I also think if he comes out trying to take his head off and sprawling and brawling, I think that's also not a bad, even though it sounds kind of dangerous, I think that's not a bad game plan, because he was very good with that. He had a lot of success with that type of style early in his career, letting his hands go and then using his wrestling when needed. But I think Tyron over the last years, he overthinks fights so much, and he's thinking so much about the business aspect, about just get the W, don't get embarrassed, and overthinking every step of it, that he didn't kind of let the fighter come out of him. But he's been saying it, the fighter's back, he's there. I'll be curious to see what it is. But it's going to be a fun matchup. It's going to be one of those that, like, it could go either way. It really could. I'm kind of giving the edge to Tyron right now. I haven't seen him fight in a while. And he's saying that he's remotivated again. And with that, I have to believe him. I think that he's going to come out like the old gunslinger.
Well, to be fair, Alan, the mindset before of some of his fights, if you think that he's overthinking things, he did have the title. He was the champion, and there's a lot more value in walking around with that strap, right? So you can understand maybe if somebody is fighting in a protective manner, or maybe, something that seemed a little safer, because yes, he is a champion. But it's been over a year since we've seen him fight, and I believe him when he says, he's dirty again, he's hungry again, he wants to get out there and just get violent. We saw he went to Thailand to train. He's done a lot more things. He seems like he's gotten a little bit more back to the nitty-gritty. And even, like I said, the fact that he's trying to streamline, the fight week and do less talking and do less of the other things that he, got away from himself. He got big, he got the championship. A lot of things came with it. And there are a lot of things that, pulled his focus. So I actually sort of like the fact that he's fighting now in a time where there almost was nothing to do but focus on this, right? Since the world was shut down, you kind of just have to focus on your training and your fighting and finding that, and having those conversations with yourself in these quiet places, right? I feel like we've probably, I know I have had a lot more time to think to yourself and think about what you really want, right? So we might see a new and different Tyron. The reason I think he might take him deep is because it's Gilbert's first main event. And for it to be his first main event is already going to be an adrenaline dump potentially. Then for it to be 5 rounds is going to be a whole other thing. So in that respect, I think Tyron might be wanting to challenge him as a champion, see how he can go in those championship rounds and stuff like that, and also just to kind of mess with Durinho psychologically there, like that, going that long for his first main event.
Yeah, that's interesting. It didn't even cross my mind that this is Gilbert's first main event. So he's not used to those championship rounds. And it's not even just about the fatigue of how good is your cardio, but it's more about how to manage your cardio during those championship rounds. And more importantly, before those, the 15 minutes that you fight before that sometimes can help dictate what you have left in the tank and how injured the person is going into the championship round. And then it becomes psychological warfare that John Jones has mastered on, always getting stronger. John Jones seems to always win the 5th round, if not the 4th round as well. It's from all those years of experience of always fighting 5-round fights and knowing how to manage that. So this will be new waters for Gilbert. So I agree that that's a big thing. Gilbert's got to have some confidence going into this fight, though, thinking, Tyron Woodley made the big deal about fighting guys like Demian Maia, who is specialist, and you can't make one mistake. And then Gilbert goes in there and knocks him out. And he's also got to think about this. I'm trying to play devil's advocate. I'm trying to look on both sides of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is no easy fight for anyone ever, okay? He's one of the most difficult strikers to deal with. But he's also another guy that Tyron Woodley made a deal about how this guy, he's such a specialist. You have to play it very safe. And yes, the first fight was a barn burner. That was a fun fight. The second one, not so much when they had the rematch. But then you have, if I'm Gilbert, I'm looking at the fight and say, look, when he fought Showtime Pettis knocked him out, and Tyron Woodley wasn't able to knock him out. So I'm just trying to look at it from both people's perspective. And if I'm Gilbert, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the people that Tyron Woodley over the years was saying, look, these are the people that I've beat, and that's why I should be considered the GOAT, have all been beaten since then, and they've been beaten worse. You also look at what's his name? The I'm blanking on his name. The British fighter, the loud who just went up to middleweight.
Dern.
Dern Till. Thank you very much. That was one of Tyron Woodley's best performances as of recent years. Dern Till knocked him on his butt, took him down, submitted him, got the black belt. That was an awesome performance. But then we see Dern Till go against Mazadov, and Mazadov just mops him up like with one. So it kind of, I'm looking at that if I'm Gilbert, and I'm saying, you know what? Tyron Woodley's known for all this power in his hands, but other people have done more damage. Other people has taken out the people that he's taken out in his best years, and they've taken these guys out more devastatingly. So if I'm Gilbert, that's what I'm leaning towards. I'm leaning towards I can do better than he can, just like everyone else did along the path. Yeah. But as you said, these championship rounds, having that experience and a motivated Tyron Woodley, it's a different story.
But, obviously, Durinho has more than a puncher's chance in this fight. I mean, that's the whole thing, is this guy has been on a tear. He has won, I bet, 5 in a row, 6 in a row, something like crazy. Like I said, the last 2 wins were Demian Maia and Gunnar Nelson, right? So it's not like this guy is just sitting here beating nobodies or anything like that. When you do look at Tyron's schedule, obviously, Tyron has had a way tougher schedule and has faced way higher competition. But Durinho has been winning these great fights. Also, like I said, the fact that he was Vitor's jiu-jitsu coach for all these years, like Durinho has been around the top of the heap for a very long time. And so there's a lot that this man already knows. Obviously working with Henry Hooft, that's a great camp. Durinho is a sponge who's been able to pick up a lot of information over a lot of years and has just trained with top quality people. And the fact that you get to go in there and be this spoiler, like he literally has nothing to lose, right? Because a lot of people expect him to lose to the former champion. And so if he does lose their champion, even if he gets knocked out, it'll be like, well, yeah, other people got knocked out by Tyron and stuff too. What if he goes a few rounds? I feel like there's only upside for Durinho, and I feel like that is a very liberating place to be, right? Mentality to go into a fight and have nothing to lose, and to know that this guy across the octagon is be more worried about me than I am about him. Like, he has way more to lose from this fight than I do. I feel like there is a lot going into this fight, and in the interview, like I said, I spoke with Durinho, and he's always in such a great mood, and he talks a lot about this. He's just like, yeah, I asked for it, I got it, it's coming to me, it's working, I'm feeling great. Like, he is all upside for Durinho, and I feel like that is a dangerous fighter. You know what I mean? There's nothing to lose. Like, go for it. He's gonna go out there and have fun, do his thing, and he may, shock the world.
It's nothing to lose, but the reason I'm smiling is it's the one thing that's got to be planted in his head is I asked for this fight. I trolled Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
I made fun of his rap songs. I talked shit to him every day. I was on Twitter spreading things, and it was hilarious. Right. Now it's at a point where you're arriving in fight week. You get there to the Apex Center. You're checking in. You're rubbing shoulders with Tyron Woodley now, and you guys are giving each other the stare. You're picking up on the energy. Is he pissed at me? Is he not? Is this going to be a fight? Is this going to be? You're starting to sense that energy, and you go back to your room, and you're thinking, all right, man, now I've got to back it up. Now I've got to walk the walk because I've been talking and talking. So that's probably the inner little battle dialogue. The monologue that's going on in his head right now, but that's a fight game. That's a fight game. We're used to it, but it's just another position when you put yourself into situations so the pressure of it is on you.
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah. And then the other devil's advocate thing that you could argue is, on the one hand, you could say T Wood might have some ring rust, right? Because it's been a year, and even though we know he's gone to these incredible camps and all this, T Wood might have ring rust. But on the flip side, you could say Durinho might be burnt out. And we do talk about his burnout because the guy's been incredibly busy. And even when he hasn't been fighting, he's been coaching others and cornering others. Even when he hasn't been cornering others, he's been in a grappling tournament. Even when he's not in a grappling tournament, he's been on this other thing. So we talk a lot about that and the potential for burnout. And so there's all these other little storylines that come along in here too. And we've seen it. We talk about it with Cowboy. We saw, the other day, Angela Hill didn't win her fight, although a lot of people thought she did. But you see that a lot of people go. And, there can be a big peak, and then there can be the valley. So the timing of the fights, the frequency with which Durinho's been fighting is just something to consider as well. But
and let me just add to that. So I totally agree. Gilbert has been all over the place. You mentioned these jiu-jitsu tournaments. I feel like I see him in somebody's corner every weekend.
All the time.
Which blows my mind because he's always training. He's got like 12 kids at home. And how does he leave home every week and go to like these, the first UFC back, everybody's wearing masks and he's in the corner. He's got to go home to his kids and then train. And like, he's a traveler. He's a risk taker. He does it. But I think he's used to that. As far as Tyron Woodley coming back, there could be the potential for ring rust, but I think this plays into Tyron's favor. He's going to come back. He's going to have those extra jitters in his chest. I think it's going to make him pull the trigger rather than be overthinking it too much. I think the nervous energy will get him to explode more out of almost fear, and that's when he's going to fight at his best.
Right. Ooh, I can't wait. That'll be a good fight. All right, let's see if we have any questions here before we move on. But folks, definitely. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so Joe Bose is asking, considering the times we're in right now, does the winner get Kamaru next with a great showing? Even though I know there were talks of Kamaru versus Masvidal. So what do you think would be next for the winner?
I mean, I almost feel like it's more about not the winner of this. It's more about what happens with them next, because Usman and Masvidal is a possibility. Now they're saying if Masvidal chases Conor, goes after another fight, goes after the Nate Diaz fight, then Usman wants to fight Conor. Which to me just doesn't make any sense. But money talks, and so that's a possibility. So those four with Nate Diaz, Usman, Conor, and Mazadov, they need to work out what's going on with themselves, because those are the type of guys that most of those guys kind of dictate whichever fight they want. They can make up a belt, the BMF belt. They could have a rematch. They could have a super fight with Conor and Nate. Usman could pick whoever he wants somewhat because he is the champion. The rest of the division has to kind of idle and wait to see what happens. But the winner of this fight is that kind of fifth wheel, that other person waiting in line to see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because if it's Dorino, then that's going to like throw everybody for a loop. Like people are like, wait, what? Like, would you make Dorino fight Leon Edwards? Would you make, like, I feel like the potential for Tyron to get his rematch if he wins that seems like a lot more of a no-brainer than what would happen if Dorino wins. Because if Dorino wins, I think he's still going to have like 2 fights before a title shot or something like that. Just because even if he gets Tyron, who's ranked number 1 right now, I feel like they would ask him to fight somebody else like a Leon or a Wonder Boy or somebody else.
Yeah, I agree. If a win with Tyron Woodley right now propels him a lot further. He's right there in the hunt. A win with Gilbert doesn't do quite as much, but I also think the fashion in which they win. If one of these guys goes out there and smokes the other guy, if Tyron smokes him, if he's able to just finish, if he's able to put away Gilbert, I think he's definitely in that quick hunt. If it's a split decision type fight, and it wasn't really an outstanding performance, I think that Tyron could be asked to have another fight, even with a win. If it's a lackluster performance, the UFC might be pushing because they don't want boring fights. And they had their battles. Tyron Woodley and the UFC went back and forth before, because that was kind of the issue. It wasn't really fun fights at the time. Tyron was asking for the fights that he wanted. Tyron needs to go out here and make a statement and get what he wants.
Yeah, and it is fun, and I don't necessarily want to get into the whole conversation now, but what's your take? I actually really liked Conor's post the other day about the GOATs and how he kind of broke down like, well, you're not the GOAT because of this, right, and the other thing, and then I did this, and it was like this like college thesis, on who was the GOAT and why and this and that, and I'll give you points for this and this and that. Anyway, I thought it was an interesting conversation, and I don't know who really is the GOAT or whatever, but the idea of Conor now being in the conversation to fight Kamaru and all these things, like, you got to give the guy credit for the ability to be in every title fight conversation, no matter what.
He's got that ability. And so it's water cooler talk. It's debatable forever and ever. DC had an interesting take on it. He goes, look, if you've ever tested positive for something, you're out of the conversation. You're out of the conversation completely. So that takes 2 of the top 3 guys out automatically. It takes John Jones out because he's tested, and it takes Anderson Silva out. Those are the 2 of the top guys, and I think GSP is the other person that's floating around that top 3 guys. GSP is the one guy who has been clean, and he's done it, and he's cleaned out his division, and he went and got the champ one. So in my eyes, it's got to be GSP. Conor has done some amazing things, being a champ, fighting in 3 different weight divisions. But at the same time, he never wiped out a division. It's much harder. As people might argue with this, and I want you to.
You could argue the featherweights. I mean, once he beat Jose, you could argue that there wasn't anybody left for him to fight at featherweight. You could argue that
at featherweight, but much different story than lightweight. Lightweight has contenders left and right, and it becomes about the matchup, the style matchup, and so that's what I'm getting at. Once you can clean out a division for a number of years, that's much, much harder than going and having one super fight and you having an on night, the other guy having an off night, or vice versa. It's much harder. Even though to say I went up a weight class and won a belt, as impressive as it is, it's not the same of having to battle every wrestler, every striker, where they're finding the style matchup that makes you have an off night. And so being that GSP did that for so many years, John Jones has done that for so many years, Anderson Silva has done that for so many years. Those are the guys that I see it. But if you take the testing positive out of the equation, GSP has to be the guy because he's got the clean slate and he did it the right way and he's got the double champ.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, the GOAT conversation can go forever.
Forever.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But then the part of me too, I was like, I don't think I want to see Kamaru versus Conor. I don't know. I don't.
Me neither. I mean, he's too big. I think he's gonna manhandle him. And even let's just say Conor hits him on the chin and puts him to sleep. it just makes no sense now. It just makes Conor another kind of like, I was the right guy on the right night kind of guy. But is he going to stay in the welterweight division and defend it against the next up-and-comer every single time? Is he going to fight Stephen Wonderboy Thompson?
Right.
I think Thompson's a horrible matchup for Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like that, he's going to have so much trouble with. He'd have to stay. I want Conor to stay in the division and show me that he can clean that division out, not jump around and get super fights. But this is Conor. He's different. We can't just put him in a certain category. He's able to do the super fights, and he brings in the money.
Yeah, and I also I like when Kamaru's got like the Colbys, or somebody that he has like a little beef with, or the whole Marty from Nebraska thing before, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's other people that have not more of a claim on him, but it's just like, it just interests me a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know. It just does.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay. I'm more interested to put it to rest. I'm more interested in Conor and more of the 55 division matchups than I am with the 70 division.
Me too. Me too. All day. Or if it is a 70, it's Masvidal, a former 55 or 2 or something like that, or the Nate trilogy, or like I am actually maybe getting to the point too where I don't care if Conor's a champion again or whatever. Just give me the cool matchups. But I don't know. That one to me, Usman versus McGregor doesn't sizzle me. But
there's no history. There's no storyline there. I get it.
But hey, I would love for Kamaru to get the payday. He's a good dude.
I'm sure.
Not trying to take a payday away from anybody. So
yeah, that's why
get while the getting's good.
Well. Yeah, they both want their payday.
Totally. Okay, so the other day I also spoke with Mackenzie Dern, and we will have that interview up. It's all ready to go, and we'll just be uploading it later on this afternoon. But Alan, she's coming back. She's fighting Hannah Cifers, and she's going to be on the main card here on Saturday. So the last time we saw Mackenzie, she did not win her fight, but it was only a few months after she had her baby, and she came back and she lost a fight. But now, this is a few months later. Obviously, she was supposed to be fighting Carnelossi. That got moved, and so now she's fighting Hannah Cifers. And she's such a great girl. Anyway, just such a fun, bubbly personality. Like, you can't talk to Mackenzie and not smile. She's just so lively and lovely. But a lot of people were on her case about coming back from having the baby, and they said, it was too soon. And I had this conversation with her saying, male fighters can have children and it doesn't change your life, or it does, but not in the same way. And the women who have babies and come back to work get so much more grief. And Alan, as a male fighter with a child, I need you to take a stand here and tell people to not give this woman a hard time for just wanting to do what she loves to do.
I mean, I don't really know what the argument is. What are they concerned about her milk production? Like
last fight out, it was like, it's too soon. It's only 4 months after you had your baby. And look, you didn't win. So clearly it was too soon for you to come back. And, and she got a lot of grief for that. And it's like, well.
I mean, look, if you're trying to take a stance on it as Dana White did with Tony Ferguson, saying, why'd you cut weight 2 weeks or 3 weeks before another fight? Now you have to cut weight twice, and it's going to make you a little more fatigued in your performance. If that's what the viewers that have animosity towards her trying to say, look, it's 4 months, your body's not fully back yet, you're taking a bit of a risk,
right?
Then maybe they have an argument there. I don't really know. I don't really know the study on it, how it works. But if you're just looking for a reason to argue and saying 4 months is too soon, go take care of your baby, or you should be doing other things. You be thinking about mother. That's not your problem. This is her concern. She's got her motherhood worked out. Somebody's watching the baby. She feels like she's got that fire, and she feels like she's in shape, and her coach is giving her the green light, saying she looks good enough to perform again. Then go ahead and do it. I don't have a problem with it at all. If she had won that fight, will we still be having this argument right now? Will we still be having these discussions?
Right.
We don't know that. It was because she had the loss that people are now saying it's because of this. So we don't know.
And she actually said something interesting. She said that training for the other fight was actually easier because with the baby being so young, she mostly slept all day. And so Mackenzie was like, I actually had more time to train and stuff because the baby was sleeping so much more that I could train and then, be on that schedule. So she said now that she's older, the baby needs more attention. And it's actually been a little bit more difficult to get the training in because, as you know, Alan, you're trying to train at home. You have your little son there or whatever, but trying to get in. So she said this one was more tricky. But there just was a lot going on in there, and the conversation was really interesting to hear from a professional who, you know, she was like, this is what I do for a living, and you know, it's interesting to get grief for that. She had an interesting take, and I would love for people to check that interview out. But also, Alan, one thing we talked about though is she said, you know, when she first came on the scene, the UFC was like, oh my God, they were booking her really fast. Remember, Mackenzie got a lot of fights, and even though she missed weight, you know, they were booking her a lot, and then she lost her fight, and she said, yeah, it was a little harder getting booked, you know, for the next one. So she too feels really inspired to come out and win and like put on that great show on the ground again, to remind everybody why the UFC was so excited to sign her in the first place.
It's tough. I got to, excuse me, guys. I don't know if you've been hearing my bulldog snoring the entire time. That's why I keep looking over. Give me 1 second while I smack him on the belly real quick.
Bodie.
Try to wake him up. Bodie. Enough. Jesus. He's like a train. I've thrown both my shoes at him during the show. I was trying to be sweet about it. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a lot. You know, the great thing is when you're winning and you're getting a phone call from the UFC all the time, you get to stay active and stay busy. And then as soon as you suffer that loss, you almost feel like the company doesn't like you as much anymore. But that's just business. That's just how it is. It's like they take that momentum and they run with it. But it's a great feeling. It's like when you have the company feeling like, even though they're unbiased, they're just booking 2 fighters. But when you feel like they're calling you and they're like, we want you to fight, we love that you're exciting, you feel like, man, they're really on my side. They're rooting for me, but it's just, it's not the case. It's just you're an exciting fighter at the time, and they use that momentum for leverage. But she said it. She lost her fight. All of a sudden, the wind was let out of her sails, and she kind of felt a little bit down. But we've all been through that. I've been there as well. It's like, man, I thought the company loved me, and now I'm not getting the praise that I'm not getting anymore. But every fighter goes through that. And she's in an interesting situation because she could come back right now and have a monumental performance and look sharp as hell. And they're going to say, do you feel like you fought better because it's been so much time has passed since your pregnancy? She's kind of like she got her back against the wall in terms of like, she's going to probably have that question arise no matter how she performs. But coming back, having a good win again, getting that momentum, it's going to be a great feeling for her, I'm sure.
It absolutely will. And, you know, she obviously is a jiu-jitsu ace. You know, I met her first years ago. Wade was working with 5 Grappling and stuff, and I met her then. And, you know, this is a woman who's beaten Gabby Garcia. She is incredible. And so just like how we were talking about Dorino a little while ago, being a jiu-jitsu guy who does have knockouts as well, you know, Mackenzie has been working on her striking, and we've seen in some of her other fights that, you know, she's working on the striking, but she fully admits she loves the ground. That's why she's there. She wants submissions. She wants to take it to the ground. So don't look for her to look for her striking to only really be there for her to set up what she knows she's great at and what she loves, and that's trying to get her down. And Hannah Cifers is a woman who has half of her wins by KO or TKO, and then the others by decisions. But she's a woman who can be tough and can get in there and brawl. You know, she did lose to Angela Hill when we were in actually her backyard in North Carolina last year, but it was a TKO and stuff. She's a tough girl. So if Mackenzie wants to get in there and brawl, Hannah will give it to her. But yeah, I think it'll be smart for Mackenzie to try to take her down.
And again, with the smaller cage in this fight, this is going to favor Mackenzie Dern closing the distance and getting that fight to the mat.
Yep. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. This one is going down on ESPN. And then, of course, the following week we'll have UFC 250. I'm looking to be speaking with Felicia, hopefully this week. And we do already have the Corey Sandhagen interview up for folks. He is in the co-main event at UFC 250. I'm hopefully going to be speaking with Aljamain as well. He'll be fighting Corey, which is a great fight. You know, we talk all about the vacant bantamweight title now. Obviously, Henry Cejudo is gone and stuff. So Corey is ranked number, 4 or 6 right now. He's been doing very, very well. He's a cool dude based out in Colorado. So folks should definitely check that interview out with the Sandman. He's a good dude. Like I said, we have a Dorino interview as well, and Mackenzie that we'll be posting. So Alan, so are you going to be doing any more live workouts this weekend then for folks to look for?
Not this week. I'm going to be doing them, but I'm not going to be filming them for everybody. I'll be doing them in privacy of my home.
All right, cool. And so, yeah, the other night, Sunday night, Megan and I did another Killing Even More. There is only one episode of Killing Eve left, which makes me so sad because it's such a great show. The season finale will be this coming Sunday, so we will go live after that to talk all about it. Luckily, Killing Eve did get picked up for next year and stuff. Who knows when they'll go into production, but such a great show. Last week's episode, I think, was my favorite this season. So we had a lot to talk about, so folks can check out Killing Even More. You can find that on my YouTube channel as well. All right, and so in terms of following, Wade produces everything. Get this, Alan. So somebody called Wade or something to be on a podcast the other day, and he's like, I don't want to be on. Why do they want me on the podcast? And I'm like, well, you producing stuff, like you've seen a lot of stuff over the years. But he was like, well, I don't know if I want to go on the podcast.
He called him to be a guest.
Yeah.
Like, you Wade, man. Moving, taking our positions now. I'm gonna have to
I know. So we'll see. Oh, wait, let me see if there's any last questions before we totally wrap up. But I do know, and I do have to say apologies, folks, if there are any issues with the connection, because our daughter is literally in school right now at the same time, and so we're all just relying on the same Wi-Fi and everything like that. But okay, so people were. Okay, yeah, all right, okay. People are psyched about Mackenzie coming back. Justin Perry looks like he's psyched for Mackenzie to come back. And yeah, Joe, some people don't love that 250 card, but we'll see. A little Snoop asking what's going to happen with me and Megan after Killing Eve is over. I don't know. Maybe we'll find another show that we like. I actually started enjoying doing those recap shows, and obviously the fights, Alan, are so fun. But yeah, maybe we start an alternate podcast on like shows that we like to watch.
Mm-hmm. Watching so much TV lately. I mean, there's so many. It's like all people. I watched more TV during this quarantine than I ever have in my life.
I know. Well, what are you on right now? What are you currently watching?
What am I watching at the moment? We've been trying. It's just been random movies on Netflix, but it's always a tricky thing because my son wants to watch everything with us, so we try to find something somewhere in that PG-13. But man, everything on Netflix is rated R, so we got to just fast forward through the crazy stuff lately.
Yeah. Did you watch Extraction?
Oh, was that the movie with
Thor? Chris Hemsworth.
Exactly, that guy.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth.
We watched some of it. I think it started getting a little too crazy, and we had to fast forward, and then we couldn't enjoy it. But I didn't watch the whole thing yet. I got to watch it with my wife.
Yeah, it was good. I was gonna say, but yeah, it's a tough one to watch with Cage. But we watched that one. It was violent.
Yeah,
very violent.
Directed by a stunt choreographer.
Exactly. So I
saw it in the previews. I could see the camera angles and the way it was shot. It looked great.
Really good. So I would recommend that one for folks if you're missing fight action or anything like that. Extraction was really, like, the fight sequences and everything were really intense. I thought it was a little overly violent a couple times, but I enjoyed the movie. I'm trying to think whatever. We cranked through Kim's Convenience, finished up the second season now of Dead to Me. I finished my book the other day, my Eric Larson book, Dead Wake. So I got more Eric Larson books, waiting on some new puzzles, Alan. So that's it. And jumping rope. That's what I do, is I jump rope. All right, folks. So yeah, follow Wade Eck, our producer. You can follow him on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm KB Heat over on Instagram, Karyn Bryant everywhere else. And of course, you can follow MMA Heat everywhere, and also Killing Even More. Alan, where can they find you?
Yep, and check me out as well, guys, at Alan Jouban across all my social media.
All right, awesome, folks. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you for sending your questions as well, and the donations and things. Always appreciated. You guys are awesome. So we'll see you next week. Have a great week.
Thank you, guys.